Hey Tim, how are we going? It is Kaz from In the Trenches with Kaz, and we're here today for an interesting breakdown, veteran breakdown, reaction of a reaction of Cappy Army as they break down chosen company that are going through one of the most extreme, potentially prone to disaster, infantry dismounted assaults on the Russian position that I could imagine. The fog of war, the chance of friendly fire, miscommunication, early drop-off, fatal funnels, fog of war, did I say that? Regretful marriage, whatever you want. It's all in this one. There's so much to learn, and as an infantry veteran and instructor and expert on dismounted combat, I'm here to break it down. I'm not going to give you the actual TTPs or SOPs, the tactical techniques and procedures, the standing operated procedures, but I will tell you things that you can source and find online. So when you watch these things, you have a little bit of autonomy over your mind and thinking about what you're looking at. Before we go into this and we talk about Cappy Army, ex-Marine, I believe, and why I do a reaction on a video, it's so that you understand there could be something that you look at, a video per se, that we're going to be talking about today. And the reason why a veteran reaction or a reaction video is so critical is because if you look at something that has expert or expertise behind it and you do not know how to extrapolate the information, what to think, how to think, where you lean on a subject, okay, then what occurs when you watch a reaction video is you see an expert extrapolating, breaking it down, translating it to you so that you can walk away just a percent more in line with the topic and understanding a source material. You can walk away and say, I don't agree with that dude. I just got a gut feeling it ain't right. Or you might walk away going, that's what they mean when they say this. There's never been more information that you can look at that's live, that's happening now around the world, and look at it and go, dude, it's tragic, but it's also education. And if you're going to join the military, it is important that you understand that what you're going to is a two-way range. No one on earth knows what your journey will look like. Will you come home wrapped in polyester uniform with medals of service, proof of adventure or journey and discipline and mateship and friendship and legacy? Or will it be wrapped in a flag or mahogany with your mother grieving? This is not a school teacher's job. We've just seen the tragic loss of life of a National Guardsman in the USA, female, who lost her life to a 10-year Afghan veteran, that was allowed into the USA. There's no way that she would have thought she'd lose her life in combat in Washington as a National Guardsman. It's a tragedy. Okay, let's get to you guys. What do we got? Okay, Mr. Buckaroonie asks if we've done our 100 push-ups for the day. The answer at the moment is no. G'day, Kaz, says X-Ray Yankee. Cool name right there. Mr. Buckaroonie, heard chosen company has been disbanded. Hope Aussie Dave is still okay. Me too. Me too. So chosen company, I believe, is made up of US, British and Australian forces, as like a foreign legion force that's operating out of the Ukraine. Bucko's just said that he believes that maybe it's been disbanded. We're going to get into this video now because there doesn't seem to be too many comments as such. If you subscribe to the channel, you can get down in there in the comment section. Okay, do understand that we have an excellent channel here. We try not to ever kibosh people that are making a fool of themselves in comments. That's up to me to do, being the fool that is. This is not about entertainment, team. This is about education. It's about you seeing inside the head of people, that trained, for decades for this. All right, so that if you follow the footsteps of the Anzacs, you know what you're getting yourself in for. This is dedication to K-Dog Carl in the background. That's an AI image. even if you ask for king of clubs, you don't get a king of clubs, king of spades with hearts underneath. Don't know. Let's get to it and let's listen to this legend who's created a fantastic channel. Well, we've already subscribed to him. Subscribe to the Cappy Army if you can, team. An awesome dude, good-looking fella. And this is a reaction to a reaction. At times I'll jump forward, but that's for the simple reason that there might be sponsorships. There might be something in there that can get us a copyright strike. We need to be aware of that. We know that old Cappy's done the work here. He's done the research. We're not trying to take his labours and turn it into something easier for ourselves, but it is very interesting and we're going to break into it now.
Today we're going to analyze the most insane trench clearing combat footage I've ever seen.
Please get in the trench, boys.
We've created 2D map animations and 3D recreations to better illustrate the type of tactics used.
He's right there. He's right in there.
This battle is a by-the-book example of assaulting a fixed position. It reminds me a lot of the Band of Brothers Easy Company's assault at Brecourt Manor. I'm your average infantryman, Chris Cappy. Let's begin. This assault on a fortified trench actually began weeks prior to the real combat. It was executed by Chosen Company from the International Legionnaires.
Okay, so Chosen Company from the Legionnaires. We've got Saxon here. Hey, mate, I have to go to Capooka in late January. You helped me a lot. Great to hear, Sax. We need to have another phone call soon. Give me a bell. Let's have a talk. Hey, Vicky, how you going? Tully. Oh, shocked me to me feet. PTSD of the jungle. G'day, mate. Hope you're doing well. Love your channel. God bless the Aussie diggers through all the wars past and present. And back to you, mate. You know, they tried to tell us what life should look like, what they fell for, you know, and what they stood for. Now it's up for us, because if we stop stepping up, unfortunately, that's how you lose your country.
They're made up of American, British, and Australian volunteers. First, they conducted route reconnaissance with drones and on foot. They did this to accurately assess what pathways were most safe for the Humvee to traverse through, and to identify what type of enemy forces they're actually facing. Their route was near the village of Pervomaisky, near Avdiivka. Some of the routes in this direction have been destroyed or obstructed by fallen.
One thing I won't understand when we look at this team, and I don't know if it's a bias of information that's occurring across this conflict between Ukraine and Russia, but it seems like whenever a tank shows up, or an armoured vehicle, or a column from the Ukraine, it seems like it gets blasted, you know, and it's covered. But you never really see anything come out of Ukraine losses. And we've got guys here, what looks like a platoon minus, that's about to do a trench assault in soft-skinned vehicles out in the open during the day and are basically unmolested. I don't know what it is. Is there a bias in the coverage? Don't know. But that looks pretty underdone for the attack they're doing. These guys are brave as hell. God bless them. You know, defending their homeland. Okay, like the people from Kent against the Vikings. But I tell you, team, normally you go into one of these attack ratios of at least 3-to-1 on a defensive position. Normally a ratio of 3-to-1. You know, and you use some sort of prior softening of the enemy position. Now, they've probably done that with some drones here, okay? I get it. And this is probably a little bit earlier in the conflict. I believe it was about 2 years ago. Let's keep going. Shut up, Kaz. Any more comments? Alex, evening, Kaz. I'm waiting for my waiver to be finalised, and I'm off to Darwin for the AIDP program in late February. Big fan of all your videos. Alex, I appreciate that, mate, and let 2026 be the great step for you. One great step for me and one great step for Alex. Did you watch the video I put out last night to try and motivate you? It came out at 6 o'clock last night. Recommend it. Jenny, how you going? Jenny from the block. It must be getting hot up there your way, mate, I tell you.
Down trees and craters from all of the artillery fire. There were a ton of anti-tank mines littering the path as well, as they discovered, so the infantry needed to sneak up on foot to see where the Russian positions were located and get eyes on their defenses.
Now, that sort of tells me that this is earlier on, because now almost all of that would be done not just by a drone, but layers of drones with battlefield commentary on exactly what is occurring. The most important thing about this modern warfare is C3, command, control, and communications. Communications, it's a 3D battle space. You've got the height, you've got the subterranean in the trenches, and you've got level on the ground. They need to be able to communicate. This is the most complex combat that I could ever imagine. People with difference in training, difference in leadership, difference in languages, in courage, understanding of what's required. Any one of those things goes wrong, right, and you've got ex-veterans that know about muzzle awareness, safety, okay, the use of their weapon system, potentially being in harm's way from their own members. It doesn't mean you're less brave, but you don't know what you don't know. So let's go into this one.
Chosen Company posts videos from a lot of their engagements on their YouTube channel, the International Legionnaires, but interviews from their actual squad revealed that recon intelligence showed the Russian trench had two separate positions. The forward one, which was an L-shaped trench, had a nicknamed Position 105, and then the rearward one, nicknamed Shovel, was located 60 meters away, shaped like a T. Recon determined Position 105 was likely their main fighting position, and Shovel.
So you've got a platoon minus about to assault two dug-in positions, and I believe they also have Ukraine fighters as well as the International Legion that'll be working together in this multi-group assault. This is pretty complex, team. Yeah. What do we got?
Was their kind of rest and refit area. They got eyes on two Russian squads from here, and they would be up against a force of about 20 enemy troops. The trench was well fortified with PKM machine guns, AKs, mortars, RPGs, FPV drones, grenades, and they were reinforced by artillery units nearby. But first, all the animation work in today's episode is sponsored by PDS Debt, because credit card debt is a system that's up that the operation was a go.
Ready, boy?
Okay. So what we're talking about at the moment, guys, there's 4 stages to the attack, right? You've got the preparatory stage, right? In the preparatory stage, that's where the communications, that's where the orders, that's where the breakdown of where the enemy is. That's where the weapon systems, where the break-in is going to be planned. This is where we want to purchase their postcode, and then from there, break down, tear apart their defenses, cause confusion, right, and go from there. So the preparatory is getting the weapon systems all squared away, so everyone's locked and loaded, ready to go, understands, acknowledge, any questions. Maybe even a rock drill to break down what if this happens, what if that happens, etc. The next is a line of departure. What occurs there for all those guys that are scared to go on the dance floor with the ladies, right, scared to go into a scuffle at the taxi rank and lift up the fists, ready to throw down, no matter what the circumstance is. Commit yourself to something. What we have is a thing, it's a line in front of us called a line of departure. It's invisible. And at a given time, H hour, where an assault begins, and that H can be any time, that line allows us to say to ourselves psychologically, as well as to the CP through command and communication, that we're about to step across line Black Widow or whatever it may be, or Black Widow now, to let people know, bam, we're stepping across that line. There is no turning back. There's no time for fear. That's why we do everything mechanically, to become a smooth muscle memory of doing assaults over and over and over and over again, so that it becomes a physical, mechanical, robotical, non-emotional, non-fear driven assault on an enemy position, knowing that when the action's on this or that, medical, this is what's going to occur, etc. The reason why we do that is so we can take the emotion out of it. You'll have time for adrenaline dumps later when you get to the 4th stage, or post 4th stage being the reorganisation, right? G'day, Expert Ninja. How you going, buddy? Make sure you subscribe, team. Let us know when you've subscribed. It'll come up on the screen and show us you're there. You're all welcome. You know, we're nearly at 20,000 subscribers. Not that that means anything these days. Right. Okay, let's keep going. These guys are about to cross the line of departure. There you go.
From the
Let's go,
ORP,
Todd.
or Objective Rally Point, they zig through tree lines and they zag through brushes. For an infantryman, ironically, this can be one of the worst parts that oftentimes no one talks about. The tension, the nerves en route, heading there, right before actually hitting the objective, replaying your whole life before your eyes. The 5 Humvees from Chosen Company and a Ukrainian team drove for a few clicks, heading past the zero line, bypassing the enemy trench completely.
Okay, so I don't know what's happened there. What their rally point is, there seems to be no pre-softening of the enemy location. We're seeing parity with the size of an attacking force by day, you know, against a defensive, dug-in, engagement area developed enemy position. You normally would never do this in conventional warfare. Okay, but there is an overlap with the skill set, you know, against these Russian centralized command. The level of training is very low. You're fighting against conscripts, but never underestimate, you know, your opposition. Because if something goes wrong, everything changes. Friendly wounded, hits a mine, you know, gets assaulted from a direction you don't expect, everything changes, goes to shit.
Since they're carefully, meticulously plotted out exactly how they would infiltrate to the objective, they traverse the direction that has the most cover and concealment on the way to the trench line, because they knew they were going to be taking fire all the way in. The squad leader called in support elements from their engineer unit, and they deployed the American-provided Miklik. This fires a rocket-powered explosive line charge, and it landed across the minefield and detonated, clearing a path that's about 150 meters long and 8 meters wide, certainly big enough for you to drive a convoy through. After the long explosive rope detonated, they traveled through the safe lane, and initially the Humvees passed through safely. The Humvees from Chosen Company leapfrogged the first Russian trench line, penetrating 600 meters deep in order to hit the rear.
So what you're seeing there, team, is you've seen those Humvees now have gone out into assault formation. What they're trying to do is actually, one, so they can use all of their weapon systems, but also so they don't put themselves into a position where they can concentrate themselves in one area, so that the theory of machine gun fire, weapon systems, you know, can be used to max advantage against them as they approach. Now, this frontal fire, you know, if you haven't got locked in weapon systems on obstacles, etc., then what they're doing now is presenting multiple targets to the enemy, you know, hoping that they can overwhelm their senses, you know, close the distance fast. You know, it doesn't make sense to me what they're doing in these vehicles against this area. You know, if you did this against Australian forces, it'd be a mess.
For defensive position 105 and shovel. By doing this, Chosen created confusion for the enemy, because they were not expecting this unconventional, risky approach. As soon as Chosen Company got within small arms range, the Humvees acted as bullet magnets, drawing fire from the enemy. RPGs and mortars start raining down on them, just barely missing one of the Humvees. However, the Miklik explosive had missed clearing one of the mines, and one of the Humvees detonated a landmine right as they were getting on the objective. This sent dirt and
I'd imagine that landmine was an anti-personnel landmine, not an anti-tank mine, because when they go off, the mess they create is a K-kill. It's devastation. You know, now we've seen already they've run into something they didn't plan on. You know, let's see how it goes.
Dust flying up everywhere and created confusion. Miraculously, no one was killed or even severely injured. The Humvee protected them. The Humvees got to within 50 meters of the trench line, which is where they dropped them off at 3 separate locations that they previously planned for. This was
Let's have a look at that for a second. I dare say it's about to show us. When I look at that, I see, you know, what you can see is that L there. I believe this is shovel. Okay, position shovel in position 105. I don't know whether it's the diagram they've created here, but this looks like some really long fire lanes that are going to allow, you know, one, it's good because you can clear a large area quite quickly with one burst of machine gun fire down a trench system. But if they're going to attack from 3 different locations, there's no way there's going to be communication between these 3 groups because of the obscuration and the disturbance of sound, tunnel vision. You know, you're meant to keep an attack as simple as possible. Normally, you have a fixing fire, a fire support that holds someone in location. It's called the man in the dark theory. And then someone comes from another angle, normally a 90-degree angle, to do the assault. What do I mean by the man in the dark theory? Now, the way an assault works properly, you know, is based on common sense mechanics. So if you put 2 men, we'll say who we got in chat at the moment. You know, no real comments coming up. Keep commenting, team. I'll answer them. So let's just say we've got Harley there, Big Harley, right? And he's in the dark with Mr. Buckaroony, right? And it's completely dark. What will automatically happen is that when they have to find each other and fight each other, one hand will be reaching out, ranging. It's almost like a footy fight, you know, until they find opposition. As soon as they find it, one hand will grab, hold, and what that's designed to do is keep them in place. They won't let go. That is your fire support. Lock them in position. This becomes the assault, and then we bam, bam, bam. And that is the assaulting hand, the man in the dark theory, in case you've never heard of it before. I don't think they've got enough people for security here. I don't think they've got enough people for the assault. If you take a wounded here, you know, within that golden hour, getting them out there, I don't even know if they've got, there's been no softening of this position at all. I don't even know if they've got any battlefield commentary on these locations for patterns of movement
that they previously planned for. This was part of the plan to help cover the 2 squads as they moved in to assault the trench. The American, British, Australian volunteers from Chosen Company poured out of the Humvees and began laying down suppressive fire on the enemy trench.
Too late now. So they're already at the break-in. So the assault is when you cross the line of departure, and normally you have these positions pinned down, man in the dark, like we're saying. You've got a hand on his collar, you know, and no one moves normally until that goes in. This is a deliberate attack, I get it. But what they're doing already is the break-in, looking for the position where they're going to break into the trench, and then from there, break it down.
Trenches are shaped in these kind of L, T, and Y shapes because straight trenches get everyone inside killed if you can get a shot down the whole lane. And shaping them this way prevents grenades from blowing the whole trench up. It creates interlocking fields of fire, as we'll see. They can shoot left and right for both trenches without exposing themselves to incoming fire as much.
If you're in the chat and you've been to the School of Infantry, you know, no matter what country you're from, then you'll have done defensive positions like they're doing now. You'll be digging them, and you have 72 hours to get down to stage 3. That means living below the ground. Not as easy as it sounds. When you see someone on the TV shows and they murder someone and they go and bury the body in a couple of hours, it doesn't work that way, team. It's not that easy. We start with shell scrapes, then fighting bays, and then we go from there. Let's keep going.
The 2 assault teams from Chosen Company hit the shovel T-shaped trench, and at the same time, the Ukrainian assault team hits position 105 to the left. This way, the Russian defenders at each location would be less effective at engaging the other team as the trenches are designed to do. The enemy trenches are set up to cover one another with overlapping fields of fire, so it requires coordination and teamwork on both sides.
So now there's a massive chance of blue on blue. You could actually be taking fire from your own call sign further down the trench line, understanding that these assault weapons have a range of more than 300 metres with almost flat trajectory. 200 metres, flat trajectory, pretty much. 100 metres on the way up, the round will normally hit 10 centimetres, 100 mils, above your central point of aim. And then from there, when it gets to 200 metres, smack on. 300 metres, you aim above, comes down, culminating point. We won't go into that. So there's a chance you could end up with, through obscuration, through battlefield confusion, through tunnel vision, audio shutout, dexterity loss. Where am I? Casualties. Who's not to say you're the last man left of your assault? And then all of a sudden rounds start hitting around you. You start firing back, not realising that the enemy between you and your mates has already been taken out as well. And what's happening is now there's a blue on blue back and forth between yourselves. Be careful, team. That's where you have different coloured smokes, panels, markers, communication. You take care of one area, righto, and then you move into the second one. Or then you hold still, give fire while the others approach and take it piecemeal. Comments, is there any? Expert Ninja, shout out to Dave. G'day, Dave. Love your vids, Cass. Thanks, Bradley. Guys, these guys have got balls of steel. They really have.
Chosen Company is going into tunnel vision here. Psychologically, as an infantryman, during a fight like this, your whole world...
Do you know what else can cause this? Being unfit. This is why you have to be fitter than what the battlefield asks you to be. The fatter you are, the slower you are, the more marbling you have, the more knackered you are, this tunnel vision will come in faster. Okay? That's the reason why we harp on physicality so much.
Troops have to fight this instinct and stay aware of their surroundings. However, the Ukrainian element was accidentally dropped off about 100 meters too short by the drivers, so the timing was off, and those guys had to run up to their objective on foot about 100 meters away. This is the fog of war at work. This meant all fire from both trenches was directed at Chosen Company for the moment, until those Ukrainian reinforcements could arrive and engage.
This is testament to how poor the Russian soldiers are, that none of these guys are casualties. In an open environment, in a developed engagement area with modern weapon systems in the middle of the day, and they still didn't manage to hit the moving team with the highest profile and the least amount of people in the fight? Crazy.
Gauge the other trench. You can even make out an RPG fly right past this soldier's head on his GoPro footage as they're exiting the vehicles. At this point, the squad needs to push up because they're in what's called the fatal funnel right now. And they know they need to start making their way into the trench.
They're not in the fatal funnel, team. Cap, you got that wrong. The fatal funnel would be if they were actually in the trench. They're in the engagement area, sure. This is one of the most dangerous places they can be, in an open area, in an engagement area, not knowing whether there's any anti-personnel mines. Thank you, Lady Di. She got rid of those from those that follow the Geneva Convention and rules of armed conflict. But there could also be locked-in machine guns on this position. The fatal funnel will be when they get inside that trench system. That locks you in. So one belt of rounds fired down that trench line can hit 30 people with one pull of the trigger. The fatal funnel. Normally we use that for doorways.
Or they only have a few seconds left before they're screwed. The soldiers get out of the destroyed Humvee and continue pushing on the trench. The remaining working Humvees, having offloaded the dismounted infantry, start to evacuate now. They can't stay on the objective any longer, or the vehicles are going to get shredded and they'll have no way out. They successfully exfiltrate out of the line of fire and the Humvees take off. In order for the infantry to successfully move up on the trench, they start throwing frag grenades at the entrance of the trench. And this enables them to move up to the furthest edges of the trench. Alpha Team pushes up on the Russian troops and backs them up enough to clear what's called a breaching entry point for the trench.
Weapon up, weapon up.
So look at that angle. And then if we look back to what it was before, it goes Ukraine forces, Russians, International Legion, Russians, and also another group of International Legion. So can you see where this is a worst case scenario for everyone? Yeah. It's like a Neapolitan ice cream.
Let's go, boys, we're good.
There it is, the Aussie.
They move into the trench on the left, which is like breaching a door, but 10 times more pucker factor. Alpha and Bravo team from Chosen both enter the trench from different sides. This is what violence of action means. They move with motivation. A lot of people think suppression is about hitting the target. It's more importantly about making the enemy not want to raise their heads.
This is called suppression, like he said. The definition of suppression is when you have 1 round per second within 1 meter of an enemy position. So he physically has a repulsion to move. You're forcing him to freeze. But with that, you have to remember that you are going to have immediate actions. You're going to have weapon systems running out of ammunition, requiring stoppages, fixing those. You need to have momentum. And this needs to be practiced, rehearsed. People need to understand what they're doing. You know, got a strong guy, you can carry a machine gun at the front. You know, so if you know that he's got 30 rounds and you've got 150, 200, you know, normally you wouldn't have more than 100 on the gun. You know, otherwise you're going to get a gravity driven immediate action. Tip for young players out there. We've got some people who've just turned up too. We've got, what comms are they using? I don't know, mate. But I don't think they're speaking the same languages either. We've got Braden there, says, love your stuff, currently going through the enlistment process and your content's prepared me with a lot of necessary information. For that, I thank you with a thumbs up. My missus loves the channel as well. Hello, Mrs. Braden Jacobs. You know, I hope you're doing well. You're part of the journey. It's very important that ladies, when they're following the path of the man who's going to provide the protection for them, the sustenance and the resources so they can lock in together, that they get it right. You know, so well done to that young lady too. We've got Staney here, Hollywood, one of the best looking men in the world. Team America, but Australian. Evening, gentlemen. I bet he's drinking some red wine right now. We've got Carl P, who this is dedicated to. Carl, have a look what's playing in the background here. Where is he? I'll just break this down for 2 seconds so you can't see. Bam, there you are. K-Dog. Yeah. Red, white and blue. There we are. Let's get back to it. Nick, g'day, mate. I'm doing well.
It might look like they're firing randomly at the horizon, but each shot that they fire keeps the opposing forces' heads down because what they're hearing are ricochets and whizzes, even if bullets are passing 5 meters overhead of them.
So when a round goes over your head, you know, because it's supersonic, which means it goes faster than the speed of sound, you'll hear a psh, psh, as it goes over your head, and that makes you realise, oh, fuck, I think that's aimed at me. Right? If it's subsonic, then you can suppress it properly. That's normally 9mm rounds, etc., or 22s. You know, then you may hear next to nothing except the sound of the splash as the round impacts around you. That's why sometimes you'll use a lower caliber weapon system for CQB, etc., close quarter battle.
Here we see that there is a Russian soldier right directly 2 meters in front of them, right here at the entrance to Bravo team's side on the right side of the trench. This is the make it or break it moment. As they cross into the trench, they have to trust one another to cover the different lanes of the trench to the left and to the right. One of the soldiers from the Foreign Legion is...
One of the things that astounds me these days, and I do not know where it's coming from, and I see Australians doing it too, is this adversity to getting on their guts, the lowest profile, where you can slide up onto a hip with your body armour and still be able to fix your weapon stoppages, low profile, you know, hidden from view, where you can still communicate and understand what's going on out of harm's way. You know, let's see what happens next.
is hit by spraying fire from 20 meters away. He's wounded at the entrance, but he's still alive. Another one of the squad throws a grenade down the trench, and the Russian soldier tried to pick it up, tried to throw it back at them, but it exploded, killing him.
Bruno Mars, he'll catch a grenade for you.
Over at the other part of the trench, the other fire team, Alpha Team, starts to make progress, breaking through to the makeshift first bunker. Two of the soldiers are positioned at the little dugout when they spot an enemy. They return fire 2 meters in front of them, dumping their entire mags at him, but he ducks away and they're unsure if they were able to get him.
Ready? Frag out!
Grenade!
They immediately push into the first dugout there and fire shots left and right to clear it out.
You want to see something scary? Watch a female throw a grenade. Holy shit. It can go anywhere.
They use this fortification as a moment to catch their breath and to reload.
Can't stay for long.
Combat like this is basically like your brain trying to run 20 tabs at the same time. If there's a break,
If you stay anywhere for too long, okay, the heat of the moment will come in, the adrenaline dump will come in. Those times you've belted your legs, hurt your elbow, hurt your back, all of that, you're going to start to feel it. You need to remember you've got the rest of your life to clear that trench. Don't let someone behind you speed you up. You know, if there's a reason why you're taking your time piecemeal to go through there and surgically clear it, you know. But if you rush in one of these areas that might have predetermined booby traps, etc., normally not, yeah, could be the end of you.
break that you can catch, you have to do it. From there, the squad pushes up through the trench where it forks. Each dugout looks like a dark black pit. It's impossible to tell what's waiting in there.
It's okay, Hollywood.
You okay? It's a J!
At the next bunker, they push to find a dead Russian soldier. We now cut back to the GoPro of a different soldier, back to the other part of the trench where Bravo team is now firming up, getting a foothold in the trench, and they're tending to their one wounded soldier. An enemy FPV drone hits near them but misses. It's the first such one that they encountered.
Drone!
They start to creep further into the trench to the first bunker system where two enemy Russians are spotted.
So these guys, you've got to remember, are basically lost in this trench system at the moment. You know, there's going to be chinks, changes of direction, potentially. So they're not going to understand how close they are to these actual enemy positions that are designed to have these breaks in them, like Cappy said before, to be able to lessen the impact of one grenade making their trench system, a burst of machine gun fire, etc. But what's happening is we're also seeing the pincer movement within this trench system, that we're starting to get friendlies getting very close to other friendlies. Watch for
This is a
muzzle
textbook
awareness.
example of the key elements of assaulting an objective, which is
So where he's shooting, his mates are in a direct line of that weapon strikes, those bullet strikes. If you get someone for some reason gets out of that actual trench, you could end up brassing them up before you even have time to react to the fact that that was a friendly. At this stage, communication will be by voice only.
speed, surprise, and violence of action, as we'll see. The International Legion throws grenades at the bunker. They turn on their rifle flashlights to see into those dark bunkers as they advance. Then something crazy happens.
The problem is with that light, it also tells the enemy